Patriot is an interesting Bolliger Mabillard Floorless coaster at California's Great America. This coaster originally opened as a stand-up coaster, but the ride was transformed into a sit-down looping coaster a few years ago. Was this a positive change, or is the ride still underwhelming? Find out in this review of Patriot. Bolliger Mabillard or B&M built their first roller coaster back in 1990. This would be Iron Wolf at Six Flags Great America in Illinois. This would be a stand-up coaster, which was a model that was rising in popularity in the 1980s for its novel riding position. The company's second coaster would go to Six Flags Great America's former sister park. In 1991, the park in Santa Clara, California, just known as Great America at the time, would add Vortex. This would be another stand-up coaster. It was shorter than Iron Wolf both in terms of height and length, but would give California a stand-up coaster once again. Flash forward to 2016. The park was now known as California's Great America and was owned by Cedar Fair. Vortex had developed a reputation as a rough and uncomfortable coaster, but the park wanted a way to squeeze some extra life out of it. So they looked at one of their chain's other parks did. In 2015, Cedar Point converted their B&M stand-up coaster and Mantis to a floorless coaster known as Rougarou. This conversion made this massive multi-looper much smoother and rideable. While Vortex was not nearly as large or notable as Mantis, the park saw a relatively cheap opportunity to significantly improve a pre-existing attraction. So in 2017, Vortex was also converted into a floorless coaster named Patriot. This was the second of 3 B&M stand-ups to receive this treatment. The third instance occurred in 2019. Iron Wolf had been relocated to Six Flags America in 2012 as Apocalypse, but the park later transformed into Firebird due to similar comfort issues. No theming was added to Patriot, but the ride received a near identical logo to the inverted Worlds of Fun, and the ride was repainted. The ride's once hideous purple and yellow paint scheme was replaced by a beautiful shade of royal blue. Because of this coaster's prominent location in the center of the park, the repaint really helped improve the park's sightlines. While the coaster has become more comfortable, it still isn't one of the park's top-tier attractions. It often is the shortest wait of any of the park's coasters. I have visited this park on days when the premier rides have hour-plus waits, yet Patriot was still a near walk-on, so you don't have to prioritize this one early in the day. Part of that is the ride's capacity. It may have the highest throughput of any of the park's coasters. The ride has and routinely runs 2 trains. Then each train holds 28 riders across 7 rows of 4. And the ride is quick dispatches too. Not only are the restraints easy to check, but the ride is a relatively short duration. The ride now is the standard B&M over-the-shoulder harnesses. They are stiff, but I find them comfortable because the ride is quite smooth overall. Compare that to the days when this coaster ran as a stand-up. It was exceedingly easy to get a painful ride. First, the restraint got much closer to your ears, so any change of direction had a good chance to cause headbanging. Second, the stand-up trains had a bike seat beneath your crotch. If it was positioned too high, anyone's voice could turn to a soprano. 3. The positive G's translate all those forces right to your feet. I actually like the latter, but some hate this sensation. Back in 2014, California's Great America was my home park during an internship. I rode Vortex a few times that summer, but it wasn't one of my favorite rides. A year later, I found a way to comfortably ride stand-up coasters. I have a whole video on this method, but the key is to get the harness and bike seat as low as possible and minimize head and crotch pain. Had I used this technique on Vortex, I would have liked it more, but this proves a point why the conversion was a smart idea. Anyone can get into Patriot and get a comfortable ride. You need a game plan how to ride Vortex without discomfort. The one thing that remained from the conversion was the lack of a covering over the station. It is quite shocking to see. Very few coasters do this. Even carnival coasters often have roofs over the station, but a few coasters at California's Great America curiously have gone this route. I get that it rarely rains in Northern California, but I'd still take some shade from the sun. When you reach the station, you are free to select any row you please. I highly recommend the back. Usually this is because of a drop, but you want this seat for the corkscrew. I'll explain why in a bit. Once dispatched, you turn out of the station and ascend the 91-foot or 28-meter tall lift hill. This was the second shortest of the B&M stand-ups, standing 1 foot taller than Vortex at Carowinds. But now, it's the smallest of the B&M Floorless coasters, as it's 1 foot shorter than Tivoli Gardens' Daemonin. At the top, you have a pre-drop followed by a twisting plunge to the left. While this type of drop has some good whip on the newer B&Ms, the one on Patriot is far too shallow to do so. It's basically a curved ramp that just gets you up to the ride's max speed of 45 miles per hour or 72 kilometers per hour. You then charge through a vertical loop. This is the most forceful part of the ride. It offers some decent positive Gs. They felt extra forceful back in the Vortex days because they tried and shove you through the floor. Patriot then goes around a turnaround and navigates a 360-degree upwards helix. Unfortunately, both elements are devoid of forces. That's not too surprising on the turnaround, but it is disappointing the helix is that sterile. You at least get a cool visual as it pierces through the vertical loop. But Patriot picks things up. You have this low banked hill. It has some great snap to it. I remember this moment being a major spot of headbanging back in the Vortex days, but now I can appreciate the transition in the seated position. Okay, now I need to talk about that corkscrew. I have no idea what B&M did, but bravo. It rides unlike any other corkscrew in the world. It starts off like any of their others, giving some whip. But if you ride in the back row, the second half of the maneuver somehow gives sustained floater airtime. I am used to getting inverted airtime on an RMC stall, but not on a B&M corkscrew. It caught me completely off guard in a good way. That airtime is why you need to ride this coaster in the back. It is the best part of the ride by far, and one of the best moments of any floorless coaster. Patriot then has a bad finale. It doesn't really do anything. You have a forgettable turnaround, then you have a gentle rise upwards. This is followed by an odd straightaway and a minimally banked turn into the final brakes. It sort of feels like B&M hit autocomplete to finish this layout. You then return to the station, ending the 1,920 foot or 590 meter long coaster. This makes it the second shortest floorless coaster in terms of track length, with only the aforementioned Daemonin being shorter. I've touched on this throughout the review, but the ride is significantly smoother as Patriot. 1 or 2 turns may tap your head, but as a whole, it is a very comfortable experience. The same could not be said in the Vortex days. As for pacing, this is where Patriot suffers. Those 2 inversions are quite good, but everything around it doesn't do all that much. So what would I rate Patriot? I would give this coaster a 5 out of 10. This is a below average floorless coaster, but the ride is still enjoyable and has its merits. The vertical loop is solid, and that final corkscrew is spectacular. That is the main reason I ride this coaster. I wish the rest of the layout packed more of a punch, but at least is smoother with the floorless trains. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't learn how to comfortably ride B&M stand-ups until after I experienced Vortex, so I don't think I can accurately rate that experience with the older trains. So those are my thoughts on Patriot at California's Great America. What are your thoughts on this coaster? Do you prefer it as a stand-up or as a floorless coaster? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.